Keith's voice on the phone sounded different, clearer, like he was calling from the next room instead of Minneapolis. "Just wanted to hear your voice before my presentation tomorrow," he said. "Miss you." "Miss you too," I replied automatically, pulling Blake's arm tighter around my waist. We were in my bed, Keith's and my bed, and Blake was tracing lazy circles on my hip. "How's the conference?" "Boring. Usual corporate nonsense. But the contract looks good. Should be home Friday as planned." "Can't wait," I lied, watching Blake mouth "Who is it?" at me. I pointed to the phone and mouthed back "husband." He rolled his eyes and started kissing my shoulder, trying to make me laugh. "You sound tired," Keith said. "Everything okay?" "Perfect. Just watching Netflix in bed. You know me." "Which show?" "That crime documentary you started last week." Another lie. I hadn't watched TV in hours. Had been too busy with Blake since he'd shown up at noon with wine and that smile that still worked after 8 months of sneaking around. "Oh, good one. We'll have to finish it together when I get back." Keith paused. "Actually, my Uber's here." "Got to head to the client dinner. Love you, Iris." "Love you too." The line went dead. Blake let out a bark of laughter. "Netflix in bed? That's what you're calling this?" He gestured at our naked bodies tangled in sheets that would need washing before Keith got home. "Shut up." I tossed my phone on the nightstand. "He bought it." "He always does." Blake sat up, reaching for his wine glass. 3 more days of freedom. "What should we do tomorrow?" "You can't keep coming here," I said, not for the first time. "The neighbors will notice." "Let them." "What are they going to do? Call Keith in Minneapolis and report that your personal trainer made a house call?" That's how this had started. Blake was my trainer at Lifetime Fitness. Keith had bought me the sessions for Christmas, worried about my complaints of being tired all the time. "Exercise will give you energy," he'd said, so proud of his thoughtful gift. He had no idea the kind of energy Blake would end up giving me. "I should shower," Blake said, but made no move to get up. "Got a client at 6. "Cancel it." "Stay." "Can't. Unlike your husband, I actually need the money." The dig at Keith's success was classic Blake. He resented that Keith made in a month what Blake made in a year. Resented the house, the cars, the life that Keith's software development job provided, but not enough to stop sleeping with Keith's wife. "Besides," Blake continued, "you like the danger. Admit it. You get off on almost getting caught." He wasn't wrong. The thrill was half the appeal. The other half was Blake himself, 28 to my 39, with abs that belonged on magazine covers and stamina that made me feel 25 again. My phone buzzed. Keith again. "At dinner now. Weird. Thought I saw your car in the Whole Foods parking lot. Your blue Honda, right? Same dent in the bumper. But you're home in bed, so must be seeing things. Long day of travel, I guess." My blood froze. Whole Foods. The one near our house in Sacramento. Not possible. He was in Minneapolis. I'd dropped him at the airport myself on Monday. "What's wrong?" Blake asked, noticing my face. I showed him the text. He shrugged. "So?" "Tell him it wasn't you. Easy." But my hands were shaking as I typed. "Definitely not me. I'm literally in bed right now. Maybe get some rest after dinner? You sound tired." 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. "You're right. Probably just tired. Enjoy your show." Something was wrong. Keith never texted this much during business dinners. He was compulsive about being present with clients. "I need you to leave," I told Blake. "Seriously? Because of one weird text?" "Just go, please." He dressed slowly, making a show of being inconvenienced. "Call me when you stop being paranoid." After he left, I paced the bedroom. Keith was in Minneapolis. I'd watched him go through security, tracked his flight on the airline app. He'd texted me when he landed, posted a photo on LinkedIn from the conference keynote, but that text about my car, I threw on clothes and drove to Whole Foods. Circled the parking lot twice. No blue Honda with a dented bumper except mine. Because mine was the only one. Because Keith had been here, had seen it, had known. My phone rang as I sat in the parking lot. Keith. "Hi, honey," I said, trying to sound normal. "Quick question," he said, still in that too clear voice. "The Netflix password isn't working on my laptop. Did you change it?" "No, same as always. Your birthday and our anniversary." "Right, thanks. How's the documentary?" "Good. The husband definitely did it." "Usually is the husband, isn't it? In real life, too, I mean. The spouse always knows more than they let on." My mouth went dry. "I guess." Like in that case, they're covering... The woman thought she was being so clever, but her husband had installed cameras, watched everything, knew every lie. Keith --. "Enjoy your show, Iris. See you Friday." He hung up. I drove home breaking every speed limit, burst through the door, ran to our bedroom. No cameras that I could see. Checked the bathroom, the closet, the hallway. Nothing obvious. But Keith was tech-savvy. If he wanted to hide cameras, I'd never find them. I called him back, straight to voicemail. Texted, "Is everything okay?" "You're acting strange." No response. I stripped the bed, threw the sheets in the washer, sprayed air freshener, took a shower so hot it hurt. Kept checking my phone. Nothing. By 10 p.m., I was convinced I'd imagined the whole thing. Keith was paranoid from travel exhaustion. The text about my car had been innocent. The Netflix conversation was just conversation. I was projecting my own guilt. Then I checked our joint credit card account to see if he'd charged dinner to it. And my stomach dropped clean through the floor. No dinner charges in Minneapolis. But there was a charge from that afternoon. Sacramento International Airport. Parking fee. He'd come home. He'd come home and seen my car gone when I'd told him I was in bed. He'd found it at Whole Foods. He'd called me, and I'd lied to his face, or to his ear, whatever, and he'd known. I called Blake. "He knows." "What?" "Keith knows. He came home early, he saw my car. He called me and I said I was in bed and he knew I was lying." "Calm down, you don't know that. There's a parking charge from Sacramento Airport this afternoon." "So? Maybe it's a mistake." "It's not a mistake." "He knows, Blake. What do I do?" "Nothing. Deny everything. He can't prove anything." But Keith didn't need to prove anything. He just needed to know. And he did. I didn't sleep. Kept waiting for him to call, to confront me, to rage. But my phone stayed silent. I texted him good morning at 6 a.m. like always, no response. Checked his location, still shared with me from years of trust. And it showed him at the conference hotel in Minneapolis. Except I knew better now. He could fake a location. He was probably faking everything. Wednesday crawled by. I went to work at the dental office where I managed billing, smiled at patients, processed insurance claims, and felt like I was dying inside. Blake texted asking if I wanted to meet up. I didn't respond. Keith didn't text at all. That night, I tried calling. Voicemail. Texted, "Please call me." I'm worried. Finally, a response. "In sessions all day. Talk tomorrow." Thursday was worse. I knew he was supposed to fly home Friday, but would he? Was he even in Minneapolis? Was he with a divorce lawyer? A private investigator? Was he in a hotel down the street watching me? I cracked at lunch, called his office. "Keith Donovan's office, this is Priya." "Hi, Priya, it's Iris. Is Keith in? He's not answering his cell." "Oh, hi, Mrs. Donovan. Mr. Donovan is at the Minneapolis conference until Friday. Can I take a message?" Did he actually go? "To Minneapolis?" A pause. "I'm sorry?" "Yes, he left Monday morning. Is everything okay?" "Yes, sorry, just mixed up my days. Thanks." So his assistant thought he was in Minneapolis. But that parking charge. I left work early, claiming a migraine. Drove home to find everything exactly as I'd left it. No signs of Keith? No divorce papers on the counter? Nothing. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Iris Donovan? Yes? This is Amanda from U.S. Airways. I'm calling about your husband's luggage. It was misrouted to Sacramento instead of Minneapolis. We've been trying to reach him, but his phone seems to be off. The bag is ready for pickup at the airport. His luggage went to Sacramento? Yes, ma'am. Software error. Happened to about 50 bags on that flight. We're terribly sorry. If you could let him know. When did this happen? The bag arrived in Sacramento Monday evening. We've been holding it since then. Monday evening. Keith's bag never made it to Minneapolis, which meant... Thank you, I said faintly. I'll let him know. Keith had been in Minneapolis since Monday without luggage, without clothes, without his laptop bag that he never checked because it had his presentation materials. He'd flown home Tuesday to get his things. Seen my car gone, found it at Whole Foods, gone back to the airport, flown back to Minneapolis, all without saying a word. My phone buzzed. Keith. A photo from the conference closing dinner, him in the same suit he'd worn Monday, holding some award. Best Presentation Award. Couldn't have done it without my lucky suit. Same one I've been wearing all week since my luggage got lost. Can't wait to get home to my own clothes. And my beautiful wife. I stared at the photo, at his smile that didn't reach his eyes, at the award that proved he'd delivered his presentation despite everything. Despite knowing. I typed and deleted a dozen responses. Finally sent, "Congratulations! So proud of you." Thanks. Hey, weird question. But you haven't used the joint credit card this week, have you? Seeing some strange charges? My throat closed. No, I haven't used it. Huh, there's a charge for Whole Foods Tuesday, and something from a wine shop. The wine. Blake had brought wine. To my house. While I was supposedly in bed watching Netflix. Must be fraud, I typed. I'll call the bank. No need. I'll handle it when I get home. Speaking of which, my flight lands at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you too. Oh, and Iris? We need to talk. About us. About everything. I've been doing a lot of thinking this week. There it was. Hidden in plain sight. The threat wrapped in ordinary words. Of course, I replied. Whatever you want to talk about. Great. See you tomorrow. Love you. Love you too. But did he? Did he still? Could he, knowing what he knew? I called Blake again, told him about the luggage, the credit card, the ominous "we need to talk." So what? He said. He can't prove anything. Stick to your story. What story? He knows I lied about being in bed. Make something up. You went to get medicine. You felt better and went grocery shopping, whatever. He's not stupid, Blake. No, but he's comfortable. Guys like him don't blow up their lives over suspicions. He'll convince himself he's wrong because it's easier than dealing with the truth. But Blake didn't know Keith. Didn't know how his engineer's mind worked. How he solved problems methodically, gathering data, testing hypotheses. How he'd once spent 6 months debugging a single line of code because he couldn't let it go. Keith would never let this go. Not until he had answers. I didn't sleep Thursday night either. Cleaned the house obsessively. Checked for cameras again. Changed all the sheets again. Deleted every text with Blake. Cleared my browser history. Erased everything I could think of. But I couldn't erase Tuesday. Couldn't erase the lie. Couldn't erase the sound of my own voice saying I was in bed when Keith knew I wasn't. Friday morning I dressed carefully. Professional but not trying too hard. Normal makeup, wedding ring prominent on my finger. The devoted wife waiting for her husband's return. Blake texted, "Stop panicking. Nothing's going to happen." I deleted it without responding. At 1:30, I drove to the airport, parked in the cell phone lot, watched planes land and tried to plan what I'd say, how I'd act, whether to confess or deny. At 2:15, my phone rang. Hi, honey, just landed. Meet you at passenger pickup? Of course. Can't wait to see you. I drove to Arrivals. Saw him standing with his carry-on, same suit he'd worn all week. He smiled when he saw me. A real smile, or was I imagining that too? He got in, leaned over to kiss me. Normal kiss, normal pressure, normal duration. Good trip? I asked, pulling into traffic. Productive, tiring, happy to be home. We talked about his presentation, the award, the clients, normal conversation, normal tone, normal everything except the way my heart was pounding. At home, he dropped his bag by the door, loosened his tie. I need a shower. 4 days in the same clothes. The airline called about your luggage. It's at the airport. I know. I'll get it tomorrow. He paused at the bottom of the stairs. Actually, want to join me? Been a long week. My stomach dropped. In the shower? Why not? We're married. It wasn't a request. I followed him upstairs, undressed while he turned on the water. He watched me, not with desire, with something else. Evaluation, assessment. Like I was code he was debugging. In the shower, he washed his hair while I stood under the spray, trying to act normal. Then he said, "So, Tuesday." What about Tuesday? You know what about Tuesday? The water was too hot. Steam filled the bathroom. I couldn't breathe. I went to Whole Foods, I said. I felt better and went to get groceries. In your pajamas? Since you were in bed? I changed. Into what? I couldn't remember what I'd worn Tuesday. Couldn't think through the panic. Jeans, a t-shirt. Which t-shirt? I don't know, Keith. Just a t-shirt. He rinsed his hair, water streaming down his face. The Netflix documentary. Which episode were you on? Episode 3. There are only 2 episodes. The water kept falling. My lie kept unraveling. I meant, stop. He turned off the water. Just stop. We stood there dripping, fog on the mirror, truth hanging between us like the steam. How long? He asked. Keith dash. How long? 8 months. He nodded like he'd expected that answer, reached for a towel, handed me one. So civilized, so controlled. Who? Does it matter? Blake? The trainer? I wrapped the towel around myself, nodded. In our bed? Another nod. Tuesday, when I called. Was he there? Yes. Keith walked to the bedroom, started getting dressed, fresh clothes from the closet. I followed, still in my towel, dripping on the carpet. What happens now? I asked. Now? Now I get my luggage from the airport. Now I sleep in the guest room. Now we figure out how to divide 15 years of life together. Keith, please. We can work through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. He buttoned his shirt with steady hands. I flew home Tuesday. Did you know that? Flew home to get my laptop, to get my presentation, to save the contract that pays for this house, this life, your trainer. I'm sorry. I called you from our driveway. Heard you lie. Heard him laughing in the background. My legs gave out. I sat on the bed, our bed, in my towel. You knew. This whole time. I suspected Monday night when you weren't home, knew for sure Tuesday when I saw your car, had it confirmed when I heard his voice while you told me you were alone watching Netflix. Why didn't you say anything? Because I needed to close the deal in Minneapolis, because I needed time to think, because I needed to know if you'd come clean on your own. He tied his shoes. You didn't. I was scared. Of what? Of losing your comfortable life, of having to get a real job, of Blake not wanting you without my money? Each word hit like a slap. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed, but it was hollow. You want to talk about fair? He left then, drove to the airport for his luggage. I sat on the bed in my towel until the water dried and my skin got cold. Then I dressed and called Blake. He knows everything. So, what's he going to do? Divorce me. Good. Now we can be together for real. But I heard it in his voice, the slight hesitation, the unspoken caveat. We could be together. If I could afford my half of dates, if I could pay my own rent, if I came without the baggage of being the woman who cheated on her husband. Blake? What? Never mind. Keith came home with his suitcase and a folder of papers. Separation agreement. Already drawn up. He'd probably worked on it during his flight. While I'd been cleaning and panicking, he'd been planning, like always. I'll need you out by the end of the month, he said. You can have the Honda. I'll keep the house until it sells. 50-50 split after realtor fees. Just like that? Would you prefer drama? Yelling? Broken dishes? He set the papers on the kitchen island. I'm too tired for that, Iris. Too tired and too done. He was already moving on, already past me. The opposite of love wasn't hate. It was this calm recitation of logistics, this methodical dissolution of us. I loved you, I said. I know. I loved you too. But you loved the security more than you loved me. And you loved the excitement more than you loved us. He went to the guest room. I heard the door lock. The sound was final. The sound of 15 years ending not with a bang, but with a click. I signed the papers that night. Moved in with my sister in Elk Grove 3 weeks later. Blake stopped returning my calls after the second week. Found out later he was already training another married woman. One whose husband traveled. One who was bored. One who would probably end up just like me. Keith sold the house faster than expected. Sent me my half of the proceeds. Enough to start over, but not enough to maintain the life I'd grown accustomed to. He moved to San Diego for a new job. Deleted all social media. Disappeared from my life as efficiently as he'd managed everything else. 6 months later, I ran into his friend Paul at a coffee shop. How's Keith? I asked, trying to sound casual. Good, really good. The new job's great. He's seeing someone. Oh. Yeah, another developer at his company. They're pretty serious. That's good. He deserves to be happy. He does, Paul said, and the judgment in his voice was clear. He really does. I think about that Tuesday phone call often, the sound of my own voice lying. Keith's voice, so clear because he was so close. Blake's laughter in the background. The moment my marriage ended, and I didn't even know it. He'd given me every chance to tell the truth. To choose us. To choose him. Instead, I'd chosen the lie, chosen Blake, chosen the thrill over the real. Now I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment. I go to work. I come home. I don't go to Whole Foods anymore. Can't stand the reminder of that parking lot, that text, that moment when everything unraveled. Blake trains new clients. Keith writes new software. They've both moved on. I'm the only one still stuck on that Tuesday. Still hearing my own voice saying I'm in bed. Still seeing Keith's car in our driveway while I lied to him from 3 miles away. Still feeling the weight of his silence for 3 more days while he gave me chances I didn't take. The sound of my own voice lying. That's what ended my marriage, not Blake, not the affair, not even Keith's discovery. Just me. My voice, my choice, my lie. That sound, and the echo of Blake's laughter Keith heard over the phone, is what rings in my empty apartment, reminding me that I had everything and traded it for Tuesday afternoon wine and a trainer who didn't want me once the thrill of sneaking around was gone. Keith was right. The spouse always knows, and the spouse who lies always loses everything.